Hello everyone, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. So there's currently a lot to be excited for. Not only did we get the official information for version 2.5, but we also got a sneak peek at an upcoming character for 2.6. The one and only brother of Kamisato Ayato, Kamisato Ayato. This character has been under wraps for a very long time. miHoYo has hinted at, given us voice lines and descriptions from other characters, but until just now we haven't had an official visual for Kamisato Ayato, so suffice to say many of us are freaking out. And while the community does seem to be split down the middle on whether they like his design or not, I personally really love his design and am really excited to pull for him in version 2.6. There's something about his design that's so uniquely sleek and dapper, and honestly I've never seen this type of design before. The idea of combining a Western style suit with a kimono is honestly extremely inventive, and I really want to give major props to whoever designed his outfit. And even his color palette of white and blue really matches his overall aesthetic and his element, which seems to be Hydro. And if we quickly take a look at his weapon, it looks like he's going to be a sword user. Or even if he isn't a natural sword user, at the very least he'll probably be like the Raiden Shogun or Child and be able to change into a Hydro sword stance. I'm bringing this up mainly because his weapon isn't actually shown here, and instead we're only seeing a Hydro manifestation. However, without any extra information, we won't know what his base weapon actually is until we get closer to 2.6. We can probably rule him out as a bow user since we already have Child, and we can also probably rule him out as a Catalyst user, considering we already have Mona and Kokomi, so he's most likely to be a sword user, polearm user, or claymore user, or some combination of the three. And although we currently don't know anything about his kit, since he is a Hydro user, I'm guessing that he's probably going to pair very well with his sister Ayaka, so anyone that wants one of these two might want to be saving for the other as well. But unfortunately that's all that we really know about Ayato for now, so let's go ahead and move on to the news for the upcoming patch 2.5. Guys, when I say I'm excited, I really do mean it. Yae Miko is finally up for grabs, or at least she will be as soon as 2.5 drops. This is because it's been confirmed that Yae Miko will be the very first banner in 2.5, followed directly by the Raiden Shogun herself and Kokomi, which all makes a lot of sense considering the content that is going to be coming in 2.5, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But first let's talk about Yae Miko. Yae Miko has officially been confirmed to be an Electro Catalyst user, and was mainly described in the screen as a sub DPS unit slash burst damage dealer, meaning that she's probably going to be flexible in terms of builds, so you can probably build her as a main DPS or sub DPS depending on what you're looking for. While her normal and charge attacks are beautiful, I don't think that that's going to be the main focus of her kit. Instead, the main source of her damage seems to be coming from her elemental skill and her elemental burst. Her elemental skill leaves down Kitsune totems, which can each be placed separately from each other, and periodically strikes enemies with thunderbolts. At Constellation 0, her totems have 3 charge levels, depending on how many you have out on the field. It was also briefly stated in the livestream that her elemental skill will scale off of her elemental mastery, so it's important to keep that in mind when you think about building her. And as for her elemental burst, it seems like she's going to have one huge instance of electro damage, followed by additional lightning strikes depending on how many totems you had out on the field. So in total, it should be able to strike 4 separate times. However, despite it being rumored that she is going to have high damage multipliers on her burst, it's also heavily rumored that she's going to have a high energy cost, meaning that she's probably going to be very energy hungry, and most likely will have to be paired up with the Raiden Shogun if you want to get her burst up consistently. The 2.5 livestream also showed us that she is getting a signature weapon, and although details about this weapon aren't officially out, we can guess just like any other character with a signature weapon, it's probably going to be her best in slot. Whether or not it has a crit rate or crit damage substat remains to be seen, but since her kit seems to be centered around her elemental skill, I have a strong feeling that the passive is going to enhance it as much as possible. But for now, that's all that we know about Yae Miko. However, that being said, I am planning on doing a more in-depth analysis of Yae Miko and her kit, and whether or not I think she'll actually be worth summoning for, so keep a lookout for that video in the near future. But for now, let's move on to the Raiden Shogun and Kokomi. It's actually really interesting that both of these characters were released in the same patch in 2.1, and now for both of their first reruns, they're being rerun together in 2.5. And while both of these characters actually got mixed reviews when they were both released, both of these units are both seeing very high usage ratings in Spiral Abyss, meaning that the majority of players that have these characters do use them regularly. In fact, the Raiden Shogun is still one of the most used characters in Spiral Abyss, mainly due to the rise in popularity of the Raiden national team, which has been helping free-to-play and low-spending players reach higher scores in Spiral Abyss. And even Kokomi, who was generally chastised by the community when she was released, is actually seeing a lot of usage till this day. This is because while she can't provide that much damage, she does provide a lot of utility and role consolidation, serving not just as a healer but also a off-field hydro enabler. This paired with the fact that Genshin Impact seems to be introducing more and more enemies that counter shields, has solidified Kokomi as a very good option for healing if you can't rely on shields for a certain battle. And speaking about enemies that ignore shields, we need to quickly talk about the new enemies coming in 2.5. These new enemies are called Shadowy Husks and are specifically designed to counter shields. Essentially, anytime that they attack a player that has a shield, they'll activate a counter mechanic that either helps them or hurts the player, meaning that yet again we're going to find ourselves in a situation where healers are going to be more valuable than ever. Hence the main reason why MiHoYo is probably putting Kokomi front and center. Well, that and the fact and we are getting a story that is entirely focused on Sangonomiya, which is where the people of Watatsumi Island originally came from, meaning that it only makes sense that the Grand Priestess of Watatsumi Island herself is going to be front and center. However, the Shadowy Husks aren't the only enemies that we're going to be seeing in 2.5. In fact, there seems to be something very wrong with the Raiden Shogun, causing her to manifest a new form that we're most likely going to have to battle head on. It's said that this boss battle is going to be directly related to the storyline and the continuation of the Raiden Shogun's Archon quest. It looks like the Raiden Shogun is going to be extremely powerful in this form and can possibly even break through shields, hitting so hard she breaks the fabric of reality itself, which leads me to wonder, are we going to have to rely on healers only, or are shielders and healers not going to be useful at all and instead we'll have to rely on iframing? All I know is that this looks like it's going to be the toughest battle that we've ever had, so if she ends up being our new weekly boss, I'm praying for all of us. However, that isn't all that 2.5 has to offer us. On top of new characters, enemies, and bosses, we'll also be seeing a lot of events in this patch. First and foremost is the event taking place in Sangonomiya. Unlike most events, this event is actually mainly focused on exploration, encouraging players to explore all of Sangonomiya, unlock waypoints, and find treasure chests, all while dispelling darkness throughout the region. I think that this is actually a pretty smart move considering that Sangonomiya just dropped in version 2.4, so not many players have actually gotten the chance to explore all of it yet. However, I do have to wonder that if you've already explored most of Sangonomiya by now, will your current progress be counted towards the event when it drops? I guess we'll just have to wait till 2.5 to see. However, there is one thing that I want to touch on about this event, and that's the fact that only late game players are actually going to be able to participate in this event. This is because you're going to have to be at least AR 30, have already unlocked Inazuma, and have made it all the way to Sangonomiya. So if you're new, you're probably going to have to skip this one, or grind story until you eventually get there. And unfortunately, this is probably also the case for the upcoming combat event, the Hyakunin Iki, where you'll have to make teams of 2 in order to face down waves of enemies in a special Inazuma domain. We've actually seen this event one time before in 2.1, and honestly it was a welcome addition and a pretty fun combat style, so I'm excited for people to experience it if they missed it the first time. However, luckily these aren't the only events coming in 2.5, so if you are a low AR player you should still be able to participate in the Liyue and Mondstadt events. In Liyue we will be taking on specially made domains made by our fellow players. It seems like we'll be able to build our domains from pre-existing assets and be able to upload them for other players to play. However, to upload them you have to be able to beat the domain yourself, so don't try to make something absolutely impossible. And in Mondstadt we'll be having a specialty drink event, where you as the traveler will be working under Diluc in order to make specialty drinks for his customers. And while this might be less exciting than the other events that I previously mentioned, it seems like a pretty chill event and an easy source of primos. So luckily there's a little bit of everything for every type of player. Okay, and last but not least, MiHoYo decided to drop something that I actually didn't expect of them, and that was a sneak peek of the Chasm. The Chasm has been hinted at for a very long time now. In fact, if you go into your map, you'll see that there's a placeholder for it right outside of Liyue. However, until just now, we had absolutely no idea what the Chasm would look like. However, from previous story quest dialogue, as well as the new images that they just showed in the livestream, we now know that this area is a mining site, and that there will be a new boss that is an old machine that was originally used for mining purposes. And I'm more than willing to bet that this new boss is probably going to be the one that you're going to have to face if you want to level up Ayato. So unfortunately, we can't pre-farm for him, but at least we know what we're up against. And with that, you should be all caught up for 2.5 and 2.6. I'm currently planning on covering more content for 2.5, so expect to see Raiden and Kokomi Are They Worth It videos, as well as a Yae Miko pre-release analysis. So if you don't want to miss those when they come out, make sure to have your notifications on. Also, if you did end up enjoying the video, please feel free to leave me a like and comment down below. It really does help me grow my channel. It's free, and I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see more Genshin Impact content from me, like always, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with future content. Alright guys, but that's all for now. So until next time, best wishes. Bye.